All right, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs who, okay, listen, the kind of question I'm going to ask in this video is how much longer can they do this? How much longer can they continue to get to Super Bowls and win them? The obvious answer is if they have Mahomes, they have a shot. And that's, I just think, is true. For the next 10 years, you would assume he turns 30 next year. You would assume you get around that much time, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. They should be able to be competitive during that stretch. But I still want to look into the rest of the roster matters, right? Mahomes is the biggest reason they keep winning. He's not the only reason. And let's talk about where they're at, not just for next year, but the next 2 years, because they're going to have to make some tough decisions. They are. Like, you see where they're currently at cap space wise for the next 2 years. So 11 million next year and then 77 million in 2026 is what they're currently projected. This will go up, but that's what it's projected at for right now. So on paper, okay, well, at least you got some cap space in 2026, right? Well, we'll get into it. Because first this year, so these are their upcoming free agents, and the number next to them is how many millions of dollars they're projected to get in free agency. Some of these are my projections. Some of these are, I find other websites that have projections. But you see, guys are going to get paid. I mean, they have some key free agents. Now, I do think in some instances, there's key free agents that they're okay with letting walk. The top of the list is not that instance. Trey Smith is just a star player. Losing him and making this offensive line be even worse when it's already been kind of bad for most of Mahomes' career, that's an issue. They pumped resources into the offensive line. I would assume they try and re-sign him, but if you do, can you get anybody else? Again, you can't spend over the salary cap. This isn't hockey. You can make that work, but there still is a limit to it. Hopkins is someone that they probably let walk. He is probably someone that I think is, hey, we tried it. It hasn't fully worked out. We might just let him go. Justin Reed is another player who I think I really like in this scheme. They really trust him in this defense, but if it's $16 million to re-sign him, I don't know if they can do that. Nick Bolton, another guy, perfect in this scheme, but does he just say, you know what, hey, I've won 2 or 3 Super Bowls, depending on what happens. Let me go sign a deal with Jacksonville and get a bunch of money and be good, right? I don't know. Charles Omenihu's been a nice piece for them. Marquise Brown hasn't really fully hit, and he might be another guy who we say, hey, let's just let walk. Rashee Rice is coming back, like we're okay. I don't know. DJ Humphries didn't really work out for them, a former Pro Bowler. Trishawn Wharton is a nice role player for them. Josh Uche is someone who hasn't done a ton for the Chiefs, so there's that. Carson Wentz, again, if you want to let him walk, fine. You do got to replace him with someone. And even like a couple role players, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kareem Hunt, Johnson, the safety, or defensive back, excuse me, who has played a decent amount of playing time for them this year, and Matt Araiza, the punter. So a lot of guys, not a lot of cap space. They can restructure stuff, but then you're pushing things down the road, making it harder for next year, where they're in even a worse spot, I would say. This is that list where, again, worth noting, these are not every free agent. These are just the notable ones, in my opinion. Travis Kelce will be a free agent, which, again, maybe he won't make $18 million because maybe he won't be as good, but that's not exactly what you want, right? You want a star tight end. How many years does he have left? There's been speculation of, will he retire? Okay, maybe, but that's still not good. That's still a bad thing. The team is getting worse then because you want Travis Kelce. Joe Thuney, he might get a huge deal when that happens because he's been a great player for them. Trent McDuffie, he'll get a huge deal. He's been a great corner. George Karlaftis will get a huge deal. He's been a really good edge rusher. Brian Cook, Leo Chenal. Joshua Williams is an interesting one because he had shown flashes but has essentially lost the starting job, so I don't know what to make of that. Jalen Watson, though, he's been a really good corner as well. And Isaiah Pacheco. Again, if you remember, this is kind of that iconic draft class that they've had. Well, they have the Super Bowl and then one other year before all those guys have to get paid. It's not a bad problem to have. You drafted well, you get good players, and if they can continue to draft well, they'll be okay. But definitely some tough decisions to make. So my kind of final chart right here about this is you see the cap space. What I'm doing here is the cap space that they will have that year and how much they would need to re-sign every player that I have talked about. So 11 million in cap space, and they would need 115 million to re-sign everybody. They're not re-signing everybody. They're going to lose players. In 2026, 77 million in cap space. They would need 118. Again, Does Kelsey make it that far? And if he does make it that far, does he say, you know what, let me just sign a 1-year, $5 million deal. Let's stay competitive? Maybe. I don't know. But that's a question. Guys like Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis are going to want paychecks, right? Maybe you get a sweetheart deal somewhere in here, but you're not getting it across the board. You might have to make some tough decisions. This is what the Patriots went through. If you remember, the Patriots were in a similar thing, and then they had a lot of free agents. They let guys walk, and they weren't fully able to draft great for a bit. It took them a while to finally get it down. The Chiefs have extended their life and extended this, championship window of dominance, not just championship window, but being easily the best team in the league year after year. Is the way they've done it is by that great draft class where they got Karlaftis and McDuffie and Leo Chenal and Jalen Watson and Isaiah Pacheco all in one draft class. Getting that really helps. But again, what do? You can also, you can, for Karlaftis and McDuffie, you can give them not a franchise tag, but a 5th-year deal, but it's going to be around the same amount of money either way. So just a little asterisk there. One more chart I want to show. It's a little bit larger, so I have to just cover up my whole face with it. But you see, really, the number I want you to look at is the cap number, which is sort of, a third of the way to the from the right. You see, this is Patrick Mahomes' projected cap hit coming up. So this year was just $37 million. It jumps up to $66 million and $68 million the next 2 years. You can rework that if you want to, but you also see I've highlighted the 2027 year. So what's interesting is after 2026, he has an out in his contract. Meaning if he wants to, he can just say, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to go sign with Jacksonville. Probably not going to happen, but that's an option on the table, right? What that means, though, is that he could sit here and say, you know what? Okay, listen, making on average $45 million a year is cool, but I'm clearly better than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's making $15 million more than me. Do I want to just say, you know what? Give me $70 million. This is kind of the Tom Brady thing, right? Tom Brady always made money. He was never pushing the market forward. He was never saying, pay me way past market value the way that I deserve. Because of that, his teams were able to be competitive. What does Mahomes do there? So that would be, again, after the 2026 season. So this is further along than even these free agent stuff that I'm talking about happens. Just something to keep your eye on, because at the end of the day, the Chiefs' goal should be, how do we stay competitive for, I think you have to assume Mahomes is going to play till he's 36 at this level. Maybe he'll fall off after that. Sometimes quarterbacks do, especially quarterbacks who take hits, and he does take hits. But hopefully you get more of that. Hopefully he plays till he's 45 like Brady, right? But Brady never took hits, so that's part of how he was able to play so long. But if I'm the Chiefs, I'm just saying, I'm trying to think, okay, we got at least 6 or 7 years of this. How do we maximize it? What I would do, I guess, to end with the advice section, I think what I would, because again, part of what people want to see is me to tell them, hey, the Chiefs are going to suck after this. They're not going to suck. Really what it comes down to is you're going to have to let some of these key guys go. And you're going to have to be smart, sign some of these smaller free agents, which they've done in the past and had success, like a Justin Reed, right? Find these smaller players and have success that way. They're going to have to draft well on top of it. And one thing worth noting is they don't have a 6th or 7th round pick, which I know doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but only having 5 picks in a draft isn't what you want when you might need depth in this situation. I would trade down. Again, what the Patriots did, right? They always traded out of the first round. I would do that here. I would trade back and try and fill up some of the depth pieces through the draft, and maybe you'll be worse in an area, but if you're worse in an area, you'll still probably be competitive because you got enough good pieces around. So those are kind of my final thoughts on all of this. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.